Awesome. I want to take a minute. I want to thank all of the participants on the panel for joining us this morning. There's a couple events at Adelphi that are really special for me, and this is one of them. I tell folks that I work with that, again, there are a couple of events you don't want to miss at Adelphi every year, and this is one of them. So thank you for the participants for being here. I also want to take a second to thank Brooke and Eric and their team for allowing me to have a part in this day. Again, it's really important, and we're really looking forward to the insight you have for this group and for the audience. So to kind of start out, at any point, if you want to answer a question, just kind of raise your hand and I'll pass you the microphone. I do have a couple questions to kind of lead the discussion, but we'll also have an opportunity for our audience to maybe pose a question or two. So the first thing I'd like to ask the group is, looking back at the time you spent with Adelphi, how did that time impact who you are and where you're at today? Andy?
Hi, I'm Randy Elliott. Most of you guys probably know who I am by now. This is only like my 8th or whatever time doing this. But I kind of say same question every year we kind of get asked. And this year I actually came up with a different answer after 8 years. And the biggest thing is that I'm still coming back to do this every year. I say before kind of could only care about myself. Now that going through Adelphi, especially doing this after the last about 8 years, still coming back to try to help these kids out has been the biggest change that Adelphi's made, is actually caring about, helping other kids get through whatever they got going on, because we all know it's a struggle here sometimes. And then hoping that maybe if I do a good job, they're going to come back and just keep that chain repeating. And that's been the biggest change that I think Adelphi has made, is just wanting to help, especially these other kids, just get through this process.
How you guys doing? My name is Goodell Clayton. It's my first time back, but I plan on coming back more times every year if you guys have me. One thing I've learned when I was here, and I was here many years back, was when I was in Greystone, for example. I brought my son as well, just so he can see, that there's a flip of the coin. There's another side that his father went through. Also, to this day, I love to fish. Right? I mean, I love to fish. I learned it from Greystone, and now my wife, she gets upset with me. You know what I mean? She says it's scales everywhere. She's tired of picking them up off the floor and off the sink everywhere. They be everywhere. But I've learned fishing from Greystone, the Delphi Village. I learned a lot of things. That's just one of them. And I just want to be able to talk to the children that's here and show them that, there's another way. The story gets deep. I was a hard-hitting youngin', so, I got a few stories, so. But the Delphi Village is definitely a good story in a way for me,
So my apologies. As you answer your first question, if you could just, introduce yourself by your first name and maybe what program you're at, it might help the audience, with some of their questions they might have.
How you guys doing? My name is Tim Madison. I'm from Harrisburg. I was here back in 2002. Unfortunately, I did not have a good stay here. I actually got kicked out. But as we can all see, everything comes full circle. The one thing that stuck out to me when I was here was the lack of people that looked like me as far as you guys' jobs. And everything you guys were trying to do back then and you're still trying to do is wonderful. I have nothing negative to say about that. However, faces that look like mine, look like his, we need to be here too. And that's up to us though. That's not on you. Until they come for the interview, of course. But yeah, it was the lack of seeing a face like mine's to have somebody understand me. Because realistically, we all come from different demographics, different backgrounds, a different culture. and that's not something that you could just glaze over, because having similarities in your demographic and your culture is how you bridge the gap, and then you can find clarity and understanding. So that stuck out to me, as well as what he said, being out there in Greystone and being in an environment that I wasn't privy to and used to. Only thing I hated was that snow used to be crazy. Oh God, Pittsburgh, what's going on? but yeah, those two things, the environment, fresh air, and just the lack of seeing faces like me stuck with me.
My name's Andy. They know me as Andy, but I'm Andrew. I was actually in Delphi from like 40 years ago. But so to add on to him though, so I think what Adelphi has helped me is so people often ask me, how can you talk to just about anybody, right? Well, it's because you're thrown into an environment with 13 other boys, 14 other boys, and you have to make that work. You don't have choices, right? If one messes up, we all mess up. We all got, problems and stuff like that. So I think being in that environment, helps you become who you are. Not everybody's gonna get along. You put 13 adults in a room and I guarantee you're gonna have the same issue. It doesn't matter, if you're young or old. It's how you deal with those things in life. And that's the important part. And I think that's where if you learn those aspects now, and like you said, it's not easy in there, right? I mean, because you are in there and you're in the same locked in environment for everybody, but I think it's teaching you how to deal with things. And that's the foundation, because we all put our clothes on the same way. It doesn't matter who you are. We do come from different environments, but it's all that adaptability, being able to adapt to different things in life and environments. I think if you learn that now while you're here, while the kids are here, that has helped me so much, because, you're put in this predicament. Well, sometimes you have to learn to keep your mouth shut, or, you have to know when to defend yourself. So I think, that was one thing I've learned a lot from here, because I become adaptable because of the different environments you're put in and stuff like that. So.
My name's Michelle, sorry. I was in Susan's place whenever I was here, from 2013 to 2015. And one of the things that really helped me in like my life now is learning how to regulate my emotions, and like learning coping skills that I'm actually now teaching my son. He's been going to therapy, and he has the same anger issues that I had. So just teaching him how to use those coping skills. I would have never had those if I had never been here. And also just learning how to communicate with him, like the staff here had to learn how to communicate with me. So just like being able to like really get to know someone enough that you're able to know how to speak to them and how to talk to them and how to help them.
Hello, everyone. My name is Manny. I was in the SI program with the group homes. So, like when I was listening to you talk, you said a word that means a lot to me, and that's culture, right? I'm originally from West Africa. Okay, the culture shock is real. Okay, but one thing I learned, although if I came at a time in my life, a crucial time when I needed community, I needed people that were not just going to give up on me when I messed up, right? And down the way, I found out that words to me mean a lot. Like words have meaning. So I was researching the word Adelphi, and it simply meant brotherhood, a community. And when you read the Bible, that word appears in the Bible to mean a community of people that want to thrive together, right? A community that had compassion. And for me, that's what Adelphi means to me at this stage in my life, because a lot of the things that I learned, now I know they're based on real, like real research stuff when it comes to therapy. And when you confront people, that's a whole therapy approach. And it was a very therapeutic experience for me that I used I still use till this day in my life. And Adelphi has just helped me to understand the importance of community, whether you're in a church community, whether you are a family community. And I think up to this point, it's not just a community when you're there in a group home setting, but after you leave, I still talk to this guy. Like I've known him since I was 15 years old. I'm 29. I'm turning 30 next year, right? So it's community for me. Still having connection with Brooke and Ken and all these people that saw me at my worst, but still got to see me like resiliently push through the difficulties that life has thrown like at me, right? And so Adelphi means a lot to me personally because I do get to come back. We all do get to come back and give back to this kids. And like Randy said, it's turned into something that's bigger than us because we know that we want to come back. We want to come back to show these kids that, hey, like the things that happen in your life, this is just the rear view. This is just a little part of your life. There's a windshield. There's a big possibility of future waiting for you if you push through this. And the same message applies when you leave here because life is not all rainbows when you leave here either, right? You're going to face things that's going to force you to push through them so you can come back and tell this kids, hey, like, you can do it if you don't give up. And I think for me, that's why Adelphi means so much is the people that live that philosophy of community, right? Compassion, second chances, and it's really, really important. So I hope they answered the questions, but
Bobby?
Hi, my name is Robbie. I was in the Vincent Home program, and I think my thing kind of goes along with what Manny said. Adelphi really offers a big sense of like support when it comes to a support system. Like I've always personally had a very strained relationship with my family and my parents, and I do even till today. Um, but there was always like, from the time that I came here, I was here from 2016 to 2020. And the big thing was, everybody that I met while I was here, all the staff members, particularly all the staff members, people that worked with me at the school, is that I know that I can pick up my phone and I can call here any day that I need to or I want to. And that support never leaves. So like, when you're leaving, no matter how you leave, whether you sign yourself out, whether you get successfully discharged or unsuccessfully discharged, it's the sense that moving forward, you're always going to have a support system no matter what, especially when you didn't have it before or it was strained before. And I think that's, one of the biggest things that Adelphi offers is that a lot of the people that work with us and have worked with us, they actually do care whether or not we see it in the moment. Because I mean, come on, when you're 26 or not 2016, when you're 16 years old, you don't want to listen to anything that anybody has to say. You don't want to do anything that anybody tells you to do. But it's about, you might struggle for a little bit. You might struggle for the first couple of years that you're in there. But it's about, coming to a sense of self and realizing like, hey, I don't like the way that my life is going. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to better my life and I'm here to move forward from what brought me here. So, internalizing that work that you're doing and moving along and then having that sense of support, all combined is, I think, the greatest thing that Adelphi offers as a whole.
Anybody else for that question? How has Adelphi impacted who you are or where you're at?
Hi, I'm Macy. I was in Secure and then I was in Colony after that. I take everything from Adelphi. Like I was in here in 2020, and even still to this day, I tell people about like CTG or ART. Like I remember everything. So honestly, I think I took everything with me. But I think the most important thing was that life is full of choices, and that we are the only ones that can control it. What I used to do a lot is I would hide behind the fact that like I went through this stuff. So instead of like trying to get better, I'd be like, oh, well, like I came from a family who fights, or I came from a family who does drugs. So like, that's just how I'm supposed to be. So they kind of taught me that life is full of choices and that I'm the only one that can control how my destiny is going to turn out. And honestly, that made the biggest impact of my life, because one thing that I struggled with here was like having an addictive personality. And instead of being addicted to all the bad things, Adelphi kind of introduced me to like, oh, look how good it feels to do good. And then once they put me in that mindset, it was just off from there. Like now I'm addicted to brushing my teeth a lot. I'm addicted to getting promotions at work or getting like praise. Like they do competitions at my work and I refuse to lose. So I'm a sore loser. So they kind of taught me that there are better things out there. Like instead of being addicted to fighting or drugs or doing all these bad choices, it feels 10 times better to go out and make those good choices. And the results that come from those are 10 times better than the results that come from the bad decisions.
Anybody else for that question? Yeah.
So my name's Mike Fowler. I went to Keystone House, which is no longer in operation, but it was a substance use facility treatment. And this gentleman here, like we talked about the fishing, I can relate to that because it's very interesting. Yesterday, actually, I was talking about playing pool, and I asked that person, I said, you know where I learned how to play pool at? And they would say, oh, your uncle, this person, that person. I was like, no, I was like at Delphi Village. There was this one, counselor there. His name was Jay Beinhauer. I'll never forget him. He come up to me the first day we're doing rec, and he's like, you want to play pool? And I'm like, nah, man, I don't do that. And he's like, you know, I'll help you out. I'll show you, and he kept trying, and after about the third, I was like, all right, and then once I started figuring out everything and I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. And then I started playing with the other guys and everything, learning different games. And another thing I mentioned is that you take from this place all kinds of sorts of things people don't realize is like I was talking about, I learned about fire and safety issues. And to this day, if I see something that looks like you could trip over it or it cause a fire, whatever, I'm like fire and safety issues, let's do that. And then another thing is that, we really like cleaned. And, I remember back in the day, the state inspection, I don't know if they still do that now, but with the white glove and all that and everything. And back then we were like scrubbing cement blocks with toothbrushes and stuff. But it's like, it is amazing that, I've had people in my life, I had this, one girl tell me, she was like, your cleaning actually surpasses mine and my mother's combined. And I looked at it, I was like, really? And it's just like, by learning all that stuff, how to properly do things and everything. And that applies to life. That's life skills right there and everything. But the substance abuse treatment and everything, and it's like, it was a shell shock at first, the first like 30 days and everything. And, and there were times I struggled and everything, but there were people that reached out to me. And one of the things I do want to say, and I agree with is that this place actually cares because, I think it was in my 30s, I decided to go for my master's, and I was in contact with some folks down here and everything. And they were sending me like gas cards for like $400. I got a scholarship for like 1,000 something. And I sat back and I was like, I've heard of continuing care, but continuing care all the way up into adulthood, that's continuing. That's just amazing. I mean, that shows like they didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. Just be like, okay, good luck to you, but learn so much. And I'm 52 years old, and all I got to say is you guys probably gave me 38 years of my life, and I appreciate it.
So those are fantastic answers so far. Each and every one of you have your own story, and we appreciate hearing from you. If you had the opportunity to sit down with one of the youth here today, what piece of advice would you give them, and what type of feedback might you give them?
Hi, my name's Sarah. I was at the charter school from, I believe, 2013 to 2017 when I graduated. If I sat down with somebody, I would probably say, this does not last forever, because I remember being in school and it felt like those 4 to 5 years that I was here, I felt like it was never going to end. And I felt like I was trapped here. And I felt like I was also running from my problems, running from myself, running from everything that was causing me issues. I never faced it. And I continued after I graduated in 2017 to run and run and run and run until about 2022 when I got sober. And I think the biggest advice that I would tell anybody is to stop running and look at yourself and face the problem, because when you run so far, it is very hard to get back to who you are. And it doesn't have to be that way. There are people here that care about you, and there are people here that are willing to listen to you. And not everybody's like this, but sometimes you put that wall up so people can't talk to you. And there's people here that are willing to do everything to help you and talk to you and support you and be that support that you're lacking at home or the structure or anything. And you have to take the opportunity. You know, like she said, you have to make the choice. So
I think the biggest piece of advice that I would offer is, to take advantage of the chances that you're given while you're here. Because I mean, I'm I'm not afraid to admit that I made mistake upon mistake after mistake. I never thought that I would be sitting here today as an alumni. I never thought that I would have a car to drive down here to get here. I never thought that I'd be in the position that I am. So, um, I definitely say, take advantage of those chances, because I mean, it will get to a point where, you have to sit down and, a staff member or your unit director is going to say, listen, you don't have any more chances. You know, we've given you however many chances. We need you to, actively show that you're willing to make a change and you're willing to make a difference in order to move on. I just I'd really say, don't give up those chances, because they're really important. And don't give up the advice that you're given from staff members, because what they're saying to you isn't just going to carry you through being in the group home. It's going to carry you through going through the rest of your life.
That's I'll talk to him and I'll tell him basically what I tell my son, for example. Stop fucking playing. You only get one fucking life. You either gonna do what it takes to be something in this world and to succeed in this world, or you're gonna find yourself in the same type of situation that you're in now, but worse. I'll just give it to him raw and uncut, basically. You know, I take life serious. I teach my son and I teach any younger individual how to take life serious, because life can be going like this, you know. So
Don't mess with Brooke Pierce. Because she's either gonna make it so that when you finally leave here, you can pretty much do anything you want. Because I think she's helped me go to college twice. She has helped me with my apprenticeship too, because she wrote me a recommendation letter to get in the union. And she still calls me at least every 3 months. I would say maybe 6 if she's busy. But that would be kind of to just follow up on what Robbie says. I mean, if it wasn't for Brooke, if it wasn't for some of the staff that I've had here that, again, I still stay in contact with, you would lose the support system. And for a lot of us, that's really the big part of what we need is support system. Because like I didn't go home after here. I had to go do my own thing at 18 years old. So if it wasn't for, I would say Brooke Pierce, that would have been a really dark avenue that I could have went down.
One of my messages is going to be to submit. And what I mean is, like where I come from, just like a lot of them, when we get caught, we have this ego that tells us, it's cool. Next time I do that shit different. I know where I fucked up at. I'm just waiting on my second chance, right? And so you have to get to a point at this stage of a threshold to realize you lost. You're defeated. When it comes to that life, that lifestyle, those choices, you lost. You have to submit to that. Don't let your ego tell you next time I'm gonna do it different. Next time I'm gonna do this. Next time. No, you lost. And that's okay. Because the point is to stop losing. But you will lose. You might get away with this. And little do you know, the universe is allowing you to accumulate enough. It might be the universe, it might be the court system. They're allowing you to accumulate enough fuck ups so that when the time is right, they're going to drop the hammer on you. That's how it goes. And I have never met anybody from where I'm from that lived a similar lifestyle or the same lifestyle that has walked away unscathed. I've never met them. We all lost. The difference is everybody on this stage, including myself, I submitted to that defeat. I became realistic with it. And once I was able to do that, I realized I don't got it in me no more. I can't afford another federal prison bed or another state prison bed. I don't got it in me. It's all burnt out. And that's okay. So that's going to be my message. Just submit to that defeat. You're not a loser in life. You just lost at this. And that's okay.
I'll just say something real quick. Coping skills are the number one thing, right? Because life is not full, life's not fair. You face it, even in my age today, almost 50 years old, you face decisions that you didn't expect, and how you deal with that situation makes the world of difference. And I mean, you learn those basic skills here. You don't realize it when you're here because you're too busy, doing other things. I mean, like I said, I had my run here, and today I still use those coping skills. And my daughter will tell you, like I said, well, that's not how you're supposed to react to things. It's all how you deal with things and react in life. I mean, because you're going to run into problems. It doesn't stop here. So it just, that's my advice. Learn those coping skills here now to make the right decisions.
So I think for me, the biggest lesson that I would, if someone was sitting right in front of me, I would say this: choose your friends wisely. You have to choose who you spend your time with. There's a powerful,
Charlie used to tell us in SIL.
yeah,
Show me your friends.
show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? So there's a powerful scripture that I read that kind of like mirrors that. And every time I read that scripture, it puts me back in the group home, right? And the scripture goes like this: the righteous chooses their friends wisely, right? And I picture myself in the group home, and every issue I ever got into was looking and paying attention to the wrong people, doing what the wrong people were doing. Like, because as kids, you're going to be a kid. You're going to be impressionable. That's part of that's like part of the age that you're in. I had to learn this. The brain develops differently, right? The same person that you are when you were 2 to 8 years old is not the same person that you are when you are between 10 and 18, and you're a different person from 18 to 24, you're a different person from 25 to 30, and the brain develops differently. You're going to go through those processes to where you're going to make dumb mistakes because that's the stage that you're in, right? But you got to learn. The issue is not making mistakes. The issue is you have to learn from your mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. A foolish person repeats those mistakes, though. But you can't give up. And that would be my message, is not giving up, having that resilient mindset to keep pushing forward no matter what happens, no matter what happens. And I think that has drastically improved my life, knowing that like I have no option. Like, you either sink or you swim. Those are my two options in life. And I'm not going to sink. I've sunk way too many times. It's not fun. And I'm talking about like real sinking, like I've drowned a couple times. So I can't swim, but in real life, resiliently speaking, when it comes to issues and problems in life, you can't give up. Because the minute you give up, you lost. You're fighting and you drop your guard, just lost. Always keep pushing, keep moving forward. And I think that would be my advice to the youth here. You're going to mess up because you're at that age to where you think you know everything. Sadly, there's not been one person in this world that defeated the teenage mindset. You just have to go through it. But with that being said, you also have to listen to the people around you, right? That are not gonna give up on you. Find those people, stay close to them, open up to them, and just never give up.
Um, my advice would be to stop running from your problems. Face them head on. Find someone to help you with them. Use the resources that you have around you, and use the coping skills that you're taught, and to just really think about, okay, is this problem really going to be something I think about 10 years from now? Is it going to be something that's affecting my life 10 years from now? So whenever you're in an argument with one of the girls in the house, is this something that you're really going to think about 10 years from now? Is this something that's going to impact your life 10 years from now? If you were to make a bad decision and, for example, have a fight with the girl, that could land you in more trouble versus, okay, just walk away. And the walking away, you won't think about that situation again. But if you were to fight that girl and get in more trouble, eventually down the road, you're going to be like, yeah, I kept fighting and, it landed me with more trouble. So just really thinking about your choices and learning from them.
I would kind of build off of what Sarah was saying earlier of like so many of these kids have their walls up so high and they are like absolutely like poured cement, no seams. Like they don't want anybody in there because all of the adults in their lives, their parents, the people that they should be safest with, they should most be able to trust. They betrayed that. All of these kids have been hurt by the people that they should be able to trust the most. And now they don't want to let anybody in, but they think that strength is the same as isolation, and it's not. Isolating yourself doesn't help you. It doesn't make you stronger. It doesn't make you better equipped to handle life. Keeping everybody out, it feels safe and secure to them because they're so used to people taking advantage of any trust they give anybody. But that the people here are people that you genuinely can trust. The people here want to help you. They want to see you succeed. But in order for them to help you do that, you have to let them in. They can be there with their like chisel and hammer all day long, chipping away at that concrete, or you can just open the gate and let them help you. And that, I think, is the biggest thing I would try to impress upon these kids is like the people here really do want you to do well in life. They want to support you in that, but none of that matters if you won't let them help you.
Absolutely.
I'm Sarah again, and I thought of something while we were sitting here. I think I would also add in there that your past does not define who you are. But your past is your past. It's always going to be there. It did some way in any form make you who you are today, or however you want to say that. But, looking back at being a teenager and being here, I used a lot of my past through my childhood of trauma and abandonment issues and all of those things. And I was just so angry all the time. And that lasted for so long. And I did let it define me. It made me become an addict. And I was an angry person and I was mean and I wasn't nice. And then I finally had to look at myself in the mirror and be like, I am not that person. Just because those things happened to me, whether it was not my fault that those things happened or I put myself in that situation, that is not who I am. And to take the experiences that you've been through that are traumatic and life shaping and building something positive off of that is 100% possible. I know a lot of people on this stage sitting out here that are helping these children have been through things themselves, and to take a traumatic experience or a traumatic childhood or a life and to shift that into helping somebody else is awesome. And everybody that is in Adelphi has a reason for being here, whether it's tiny, it's big, it doesn't matter. Everybody has a reason and everybody has a voice. And to take what brought you here and change the world with it is a possibility. And I feel like children need to hear that, because there is a stigma on you can't change the world. You can't do, yes, you can. And even if it's not changing the world, you could talk to somebody for 5 seconds and change their entire life. And people need to hear that, because even just smiling at someone that is having a shitty day can change their entire view on things. And that is very important to tell people. So that's all I got.
So a similar question, what advice would you give to our staff teams, the staff working in the programs?
I was waiting on that question. Don't give up. Because there are several times whenever I was here that staff should have gave up on me, or maybe I shouldn't have had a second chance. I was in Bennett home, and I could have been sent back to juvenile detention, but they moved me to Raphael House, and I had a second opportunity. And I think about that all the time. I coach football, and I coach in a mm, low income area, and a lot of those kids don't have father figures in their life. And sometimes it's like, okay, man, are you gonna listen or not? But um, I've been coaching for a while now, and it's crazy because some of those kids that gave me a hard time, and where I'm wanted to give up on them, but I didn't, because I think back to those long nights whenever I didn't want to go upstairs, or I was just being hard headed and causing mayhem. That I think about that time whenever I'm coaching them, and those kids that I started coaching, a lot of them now, and it's crazy because I live in South Georgia, so football is life down there. Um, they're getting their offers now. I have a junior who just committed to Texas A&M. I get to take kids to took a kid last football season to the University of Georgia for a college visit, and it's those success stories that keep you going. So don't give up on us. Don't give up on those kids, because it means a lot. My only advice as far as what you guys can do maybe is just be honest, just be raw. Sometimes as adults, and when you're dealing with kids, you feel like you have to put on some type of gloves, right? But a lot of kids, they hear it anyway. You know, I remember when I was in here, and the 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 raw advice, just man, when you gonna stop fucking off, man? When you gonna stop? When you gonna get yourself together, man? When you gonna stop? When you gonna do what you got to do in the school? Or just be honest and be raw. You know, her down there, she was saying something about the guards that we put up, right? I guarantee you, when we're young, when we're teenagers, you guys been teenagers, everybody's been teenagers, right? We can sense and we can feel BS. We can sense and feel when someone's not authentic, right? But the one that really catches your attention, the one that really, whoa, he said that or she said that, is the one that's like raw, the one that shows that you really care, you know, not just trying to say, oh, I want to make sure I say this and I don't want to say that. No, just be raw. If you care about the kids, be raw with them. You know what I mean? And be real with them. That's basically it. That's the only advice I can give.
Um, I would just go back to what I was saying about bridging that gap. Remembering that there are kids here that don't come from the environment you may have grew up in, right? And you would think that that's obvious, but when you have good intentions, you're not necessarily thinking about those small details because you have good intentions, and you think that that's going to be the medicine to cure everything. But realistically, these kids that come from different places than you do, in their mind, they're tuning you out because they're saying your adversity was not the same as mine's. They have assumptions on their end too. They're saying you don't know nothing about welfare, food stamps, shelters, right? They're saying you don't know nothing about looking outside your window and seeing bags on the windowsill, seeing drug dealers on the corner. In their mind, that's what they're saying. So they're tuning you out. They're not even giving you a chance because they don't feel no commonality, right? And so the only way to do that is to find some things that you might share in common with them, despite the fact that you come from an entirely different culture. We all can find something, right? There's a couple country songs that I like. You'd be surprised, right? But if I share that with you, now I just broke the ice. Now we can conversate, and we might find out we got more shit in common, right? There's a couple rock and roll songs I like. You'd be surprised. I love Creed. Don't talk shit about Creed, right? So my point is, find something that you think that they may like, that they may be into. And that's more on you than it is on them, because you're the ones that is here to say, look, I'm here to help you. They're here for being resistant against everything that society has been trying to press upon them. So it's going to be on you. It's going to require a little bit of homework. It's going to require you to maybe get outside your comfort zone. But if you really want to bridge that gap, that's what you're going to have to do.
All right, so my take on this is thank you guys, because being an adult and working out in the field, you don't realize what it takes to become a counselor. First of all, like you can't just walk into this, and to be thrown into a home with 16 boys or girls, and you have to learn on the fly. And I stand here because of y'all today. I guarantee it, because of the stuff I learned when I was in here. And I know many people have said it, that Delphi does not give up. I know there's a lot of different agencies out there, and you hear bad things about from different agencies, right? There's a reason why this agency is growing. When I was here, there was like maybe 8 group homes. Now there's so many more. And that's because they're doing the right things. Don't give up. You may not see the immediate impact. I mean, it may take some 30 years, 20 years to come back and say thank you, but you're doing the right things, and we know you don't get paid as well. Now we do. Now we know you don't get paid as much as you probably should, chasing us around. I mean, yeah, I know, right? I think they're pulling up in all these vehicles. We didn't know what that anything back then, right? Money, we had no objects back then, right? So, but keep doing what you're doing. Just be genuine. You're gonna have a bad apple in every bunch sometimes. It's the good ones that always stand out or that stay the longest, and you'll really get there. I mean, like Ken, I hate to pick on him, but like he was there when I was little, right? But I so am I probably, but I can tell you stories about him, and what he had to deal with me, and it's a different vibe, and the world changes every year. I'm like, man, the world is different. Like I'm that old guy now. It's like, man, this is not the same as when I was growing up, and I never thought I'd say that, but here I am. But like without you guys, who knows where I would have went, right? Because the skills I use today in life, and it doesn't stop, because every day you experience something different. I'm not saying every day is bad, but like life throws curveballs at you everywhere you go, and you have decisions to make. And whether you make those right decisions, even if somebody's not looking, making that right decision is key, right? And you have to, and it all goes back to the foundation work that they lay here. You don't realize that when you're here, and I tell people that, like, you're probably not listening to half the things they say, but if you listen to us up here on the stage, like we've been through this, we've made it on the outside, and this is my time to come back, and not only for the kids, but for the staff, because if it wasn't for them, who knows where I'd be. And Delphi does not give up after you leave here, because some other people said, when I wanted to go back to school, they're like, oh, here's a scholarship, apply for this, and that. So it's very fortunate. A lot of these agencies, you don't have that. So kudos to all y'all and thank you for all you do.
If I could give staff advice, it would probably be that you also can't save everyone, unfortunately. I think that's something that the staff do struggle with a lot is the fact that they come in here day in, day out, trying to help some kids, and some of them don't pick it up. I always say that you can lead someone to water, but you can't make them drink. Unfortunately, not everybody's gonna see the value in what you guys offer and what you guys do, or see the value in you getting up every morning and coming here to hear us yell at you or fight you or throw food at you or all of the other stuff that you guys have to deal with. Not everybody sees the value in your time or what you guys are offering to them. But there's going to be people just like us that, you guys do end up saving, and that even 6 years later now, I can still remember all of the little incidents and all of the words that you guys gave me and all of the good stuff that I learned here. Word for word, all of the memories stick with people still. So even though you can't save them all, there's still going to be the ones that you do.
Take care of yourselves too. This is a hard job. This is not an easy job. It's a rewarding job. I've been working in the social work field for the last 2 years. It's very rewarding and it's very empowering, but it takes a toll on you. You see children or whoever that have similar situations than you did, and it's triggering and it's hard. And you see these kids go through these very traumatic things, and that's very heavy. So take care of yourselves. Self-care is very important, whether it's 5 minutes a day, getting yourself a coffee and listening to your favorite song. Take care of yourself.
One of the best things that I could offer as advice to staff members is, just, I know just because I am who I am, that some kids suck. Some of them absolutely suck. And it's easy to get frustrated and it's easy to get upset, but just remember to, remind the kids that they're not failures, that they're not just a binder that gets put in a file cabinet. Because, that's how a lot of us felt when we first got here. We're just like, I'm just another file to you, you don't care about me. What reason do you have? So just remind us that we're not failures. We're not, a product of our mistakes, that we can make a difference and we can move forward, from what we did. Because I know that I'm sure there's kids that, haven't been in group homes, that they don't have that kind of support that we had when we came here. So they just think, I'm such a failure. I can't succeed at anything in life. I'm never going to do good at anything. So being that you're in that position to help, because despite what you may think, we do look up to the staff members. Sometimes it seems like, we just absolutely hate every one of them. But we do look up to you guys. We do look up to the staff members. And it's just important to remind us that, yeah, you get frustrated, we get frustrated, but we're not a product of our mistakes and we're not failures. And we can move forward from what we've done and we can do good when we leave.
That was kind of everything I was going to say. So he stole it all. But I think for me, I would say keep going. I didn't really understand where my passion for social work came, like until I started going through the concepts of social work, just every single thing that makes social work, right? The experiences that I've had and the people that I've actually encountered, and I learned about trauma-informed care, and I learned that you guys' job is pretty hard. It's a difficult job, right? And I just want to say, there's going to be kids like me that's going to watch how you do your job. And it's either going to motivate them to want to pursue that, because most kids don't have people they can look at and say, oh, I want to be like that when I grow up. So they come to the group home at a very crucial time in their life when they're watching the grown-ups around them. And for me, I saw that. I saw the people that did their job here, they loved their job. They had difficult days, but they kept showing up. I've worked in a lot of social service places. My recent job that I had was I was a program manager for one of the only like homeless men's shelter here in Westmoreland County. And what I saw, what I experienced for myself was maybe something I would never really experience if I never like went through this. I saw just the other side of it. I saw as like a staff, as I'm looking at these grown men coming in with drug issues, most men that are on Megan's Law, they can't find jobs, they're struggling. And I just saw myself carry their burdens, like I was in my office with people trying to find job applications for like 2, 3 hours. I was investing everything, stuff that staff here had done for me. When I was trying to go back to school for social work for my, to complete my program, I had messed up too many times. I went to college, I was partying, and I like flunked out, right? And I kept calling Brooke, hey, Brooke, I need you to give me another chance. She said, man, I already gave you too many chances. Kept calling, Brooke, I need your help, Brooke. She wouldn't budge. So I drove and I went to the front desk. I said, hey, Debbie, I want to see Brooke. And so she said, okay, I'll call her. So she calls me. I go upstairs in the office and we're sitting down and she's like, Manny, what do you want to go to school for? I'm like, I don't know. All I know is I want to go back. So she said, well, you got to know what you want to go for so we can like make something happen. And in that moment, that stage of my life, I had just decided to read the Bible, right? And I'm reading it. I'm saying, well, Jesus was a social worker. He didn't give up on people. He loved the people. I'm like, you know what? I want to be a social worker. She said, okay. So we signed the papers and everything. My first ever class. Had never felt so excited about education. And that's when my journey with social work started. I graduated with my bachelor's. I'm about a semester away to do my internship to get my master's. And I think it all stems from being around people, being around staff like you and people. And I see Mark, I see, my man back there, Candace, Shepard. I see a lot of familiar faces, people that were here when I was here. And you guys are still here. And that shows the job was not just something you were doing, it was like it's a part of who you are. And I think that's what kids need to see. They need to see, right? You living out your God-given purpose so that they themselves can be inspired to do that because they spend more time with you than they do their own families. So they're going to watch you and see how you move so they can move the same. So I'll just say, keep going, keep doing what you do, keep waking up every morning, know why you do this or you're going to get burnt out. Something I've learned in social work. If you don't know why you're doing something, you don't pace yourself, you don't take care of yourself, you're going to burn out. So take care of yourself first. Know why you're doing this, and keep doing your thing. I think you guys are doing great.
Sure.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, think of yourselves as parental figures to us too, because like, I was speaking to my fiance before, or while we were on the way here, and I was like, because he was like, "Oh, we're just going to see a bunch of strangers," and I was like, "No, these people raised me. Like I was here from the time I was 16 till I was 20, so I was here from being a teenager into adulthood, and like I consider that these staff members that I know, my unit director, these people raised me like any more than my parents could have ever done. They provided me more support. They gave me more advice. They taught me in ways that I don't think that my parents or my family could have ever done for me. So just remember that you're like a parental figure to us, and as long as you make the effort to lead yourself that way, we're going to think of you that way when we come back and when we come back and we thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to be sensitive to the time. I want to be sensitive to the schedule that Brooke has for everyone. So again, I want to thank everyone that's on this panel. Thank you for your time and your consideration and your willingness to sit up here and to talk and be transparent with this group. So thank you very much. I think Brooke has already probably talked to you. I think there's some plans for you folks to be going on different directions. Brooke, do you want to?
Hook them up with their teachers and now we get to talk to the kids. So now's the.
Thank you.
Oh,
Like this schedule matter. You want to every time.